Welcome back, guys. It is championship racing once again here at SARCO. We are in round number 3 in our BMW touring cars. This season is proudly sponsored by Thrustmaster and Mettlestate. We head to the Red Bull Ring in Austria for 2 heats of 20 minutes, with each of those heats being determined by a 15-minute qualifier. Sit back and enjoy the highlights of heats 1 and 2. So we look at the starting lineup, and Torquay is penalised to start at the back of the grid after hitting Jakes in our previous race. He starts off in 14th. Hamid, he will start off in 13th, with Jacques from TTR joining us here in Lobby 1, just behind his partner Duppy in 11th. Skoeflich, he's in 10th place for Some Stuff Racing, partnering with Torquay. The Project Cat Racing driver, that is Ross, he's in 9th place, and he's behind Tosco 2 driver Gerard in 7th. Green Mamba, the Black Mamba driver Jakes, he's in 7th. The Black Mamba driver Jakes, he's in 6th place behind the Lone Racers. Craig, he's in 5th, and he's behind Tosco 1 driver Durkee in 4th. Marius, he's in 3rd place for Silverback Racing, and he's behind his partner Bruno. Bruno in 2nd, and he's behind Charles, who takes a pole position. We wait for the green lights, heat number 1. It is green lights and away we go, and Bruno's got a great jump off the line. Unfortunately, it looked like Charles, he had bogged down a bit. That's allowed his teammate Durkee to get up right behind him and go through. Jakes is on the inside. Charles is unfortunately run wide. Bruno leads with Duppy in 2nd. Then it is Jakes, Gerard, then Charles. Just behind Charles is Craig for the Lone Racers, and Marius starting to move up the field. No contact for the drivers going through Remus. Looked like Durkee, he was the one that went a little bit wide, but now onto the braking zone, down into turn number 3. Big sideways action for Jakes there, but manages to hang on. Craig moving up the inside of Marius. But Bruno leads with Durkee 2nd. You can see the amount of counters here Jakes had on his BMW there. So nearing the end of the first lap, that is Bruno, Durkee, Jakes, Gerard, Charles, Craig. There's Marius peeling off. He looked like he might have got himself some damage. No, it was actually a drive-through penalty. So Marius jumping the line. He unfortunately now having to take that drive-through. Craig goes past, Dylan goes past. That's Ross, Duppy, then Hamid. Oh, Hamid's lost it on the power. He's put himself sideways. Dylan now being chased down by the Project Cat driver and the TTR driver. The field is starting to spread out ever so slightly, but you can see that the guys are still very close to each other. Oh, big lock up there for Dylan coming into turn number 3. But he's able to hang on to that position. Back to the front, and Jakes is putting a lot of pressure on the back of Durkee. Jakes just having a little show there going into turn number 7. Durkee running a little bit wide. I'm not sure whether he'll get a slowdown penalty for that. He's wide once again, but Jakes would have had the better run coming out of the corner. Jakes tucks in behind him, try and get a slipstream advantage. Now going side by side as they approach turn number 1, Nicky Lauder curve. Durkee, sorry, he was able to defend the inside line. Jakes getting a toe up the hill to Remus. Durkee again going to the inside, defending the inside line. I'm sure if Durkee had a tow bar in his car, Jakes would be rubbing right up against it. You just see how close Jakes is. Little contact there between himself and Durkee. But there's no damage done. So Jakes is able to continue his attack. Well, a little bit of an oversteer there for Jakes. Jakes are very tight up onto turn number 5. So Scholl is making his way back up the field. Dylan a bit of a power slide coming into turn number 4. Through turn 5, Dylan loses a little bit of traction, so Scholl gets up right behind him. As they go to turn number 7, Scholl has a little look on the inside. Slight lock up for Dylan, but you can see just at the bottom of the screen that the 3 cars were in a row. Let's just go up there quickly. That's Durkee, Jakes and Gerard. Up towards Rimmers. Gerard gets the run on Jakes. Will he go around the outside? Jakes on the inside. But Gerard does not get that pass made. Scholl's now had a great run on the back of Dylan, heading up towards Remus. Dylan makes the space wide enough and Scholl just goes through without any fight there. That is a second, third, fourth. Durkee, he's leading this charge ahead of Jakes with Gerard right behind him. We'll just bring up the current positions. So Bruno is still out in front, just under 3 seconds, with Durkee second, Jakes is third, Gerard is fourth, Craig he's in 5th place with Scholl in 6th, Dylan is in 7th place with Ross in 8th, Duppy he's in 9th with Skoeflich in 10th place, Jacques from TTR he's in 11th with Hamid in 12th. That is Toki in 13th place and Marius down in 14th position. Just wanted to jump back. Dylan chasing Scholl. There's some movement down further in the field. Let's just have a look coming into turn number 1. No change in positions just yet. Both Scholl and Dylan are running a little bit wide. Let's just jump back there to that action and see Dylan is now side by side with Scholl, heading up the hill towards Remus. Dylan will now be on the inside. Side by side they go through Remus, and Dylan unfortunately not able to get the traction down, losing the rear, so Scholl will retain that position. There really is just so much action happening in this race. I'm not quite sure which action I should be watching. But for now, Durkee's managed to just open up a slight gap between himself and Jakes. But that does not mean he's going to be able to relax anytime soon, because just behind Jakes we have Gerard. There's the race leader. He's now crossing the start-finish line. Gerard right on the back of Jakes. Looks like Gerard got the better run coming out of the new turn number 8, the Red Bull mobile corner. Jakes moving to the inside to defend that inside line for turn number 2. So Gerard will have to try and go around the outside. On the brakes, Jakes on the inside. We'll just see what happened coming up over the hill. So Jakes is able to retain that place. And we can see in the background that Scholes has opened their gap away from Dylan and is now closing down on Craig. So Scholes now within a 0.2 seconds away from Craig. Will he have a look on the inside into turn 4? Well, they were nearly side by side. Scholes just stuck his nose in there through turn 5. Scholes having a little look there for turn number 7. The positions unchanged for the last 3 laps. Bruno still leads with Dirk in second, then Jakes. It is then Gerard, Craig, Scholes. But now Craig now under pressure for Scholes. Scholes moving to the inside for turn number 1. They are side by side. Scholes just squeezes out Craig, but Craig comes back onto the track. Now a side by side. Dylan has now been able to close the gap after these two have been battling. Scholes is now on the inside for this turn number 2. Craig goes a little touch behind the back of Scholes and they both go off. Oh, there's car rolling in the background there. That's Scholes on his roof. So Scholes just jumping on those brakes a little bit later than Craig. That allows him to get the advantage going into Remus. Craig now turns in, fortunately gathering some of that curb, which throws the car slightly wider, and as he's back on the power he's right up against Scholes, and that then unfortunately sends both Craig and Scholes into this barrier, and that sends Scholes up and over. What this now means is that Skoe Vlieg and Duppy are right up in the action. This is a Scholes that's in front of him. Duppy having a run on Skoe Vlieg on the inside, being able to take that position. There's Craig now latching onto the back of Skoe Vlieg and Duppy. Just ahead of them, that is Scholes. You can see his car is definitely under distress, but now Skoe Vlieg has got the inside line for a Rindt. Will Craig follow him through? He's right up behind a little tag on the back of Skoe Vlieg, and that's unfortunately, well, if he's managed to hold that, and Craig manages to sneak through there, going past both Duppy and Skoe Vlieg, coming through the Red Bull mobile corner. Onto the brakes into Nicky Lauda, turn number 1. So Scholes going to be battling with some straight line speed after that rollover. We'll see whether this pack of 3 will be able to close him down. Back to the battle for second, third and 4th place. Durkee for Tosco 2, Tosco 1, excuse me, teammate to Scholes. He's battling with Jakes for the Black Mambas, teammate to Dylan. At the back in the blue car, that is the Tosco 2 driver, Gerard. He unfortunately will continue this championship as a single driver, with his teammate unfortunately having to retire. But there's Jake's got a good run coming out of the last corner, turn number 8. He's now moved himself to the outside for turn 1. Side by side, Jakes does not decide to cut in, but they both run wide. I'm not sure whether there'll be any time penalty that will be added onto that, but it doesn't seem like either one of them are coming off the power. Well, a little bit of oversteer there for Dirkie, just going past his race leader Bruno, having a very, very quiet race up front. They're going to be a side-by-side into turn 3. Dirkie just trying to squeeze Jakes, just cuts off some of that space he has at the moment. We're on a lap number 9, about 6 minutes of this race left, with Bruno leads, with Dirkie still in second, Jakes right behind in third, with Gerard even closer in fourth. Dylan, he's in fifth with Ross 6th, Charles 7th, Craig is 8th, Duppy he's in 9th place with Skoverflick in 10th, Jacques is in 11th, Hamid 12th, Marius in 13th, and Toki unfortunately disconnecting. Gerard moving up in behind Jakes, with Dirkie unfortunately losing the rear coming out of the last corner, and that little mistake unfortunately costing him 2 places. So Jakes now moves himself up into a second place, and Gerard is now third, but Gerard seems to have got the better drive coming out of the corner. Nicky Lauda Jakes putting himself on the inside for turn number 2. So Jakes holding on to that place. Will Gerard be able to go around the outside as they go down to turn 3. The Jakes are covering up that inside line, leaving enough space for Gerard on the outside. I thought that Dirkie might have gone off, but it was just a little bit of lag, because you saw how all of a sudden he managed to be in the middle of the track. Oh, there's Dirkie losing the rear, going off onto the grass. I'm not sure how he managed to keep that car going in a straight line without spinning, but he's now well and truly down in 4th place. Skoverflick has not allowed Craig to get away from him. Just in the background there we saw a Duppy for TTR. He too has not let this gap grow too far. Skoverflick driving for one of the new teams that have joined this championship, Some Stuff Racing. Down the back straight start finish line goes Scholl, but Skoverflick looks like he's got the top end speed. Will he put himself around the outside into turn 1? No, he doesn't. No, not close enough, but he goes the undercut. He's obviously been watching Craig running a little bit wide, has got that power down early. He's now got the better drive coming up towards Remus. So Craig will now have to slot in behind and concede that place. Will Craig have a dive on the inside into Remus? He does. A great overtaking move there for Craig, but he loses the rear, and that allows Skoverflick to go past once again. But they're now side by side. Turn number 3, Craig on the inside, Skoverflick on the outside. Skoverflick leaving enough room for Craig, so they are side by side through turn 3. But now Skoverflick will have the inside going into turn number 4. Craig unfortunately losing their place once again. Craig is up on the curbs. That's definitely going to impact his ability to get the power on. So Skoverflick will get away. With just under 2 minutes to go, we jump back to the battle for a 2nd and a 3rd place. That is Gerard moving to the inside, coming into turn number 7. He backs off slightly. Jake's back on the power. Oh no, he's unfortunately lost the rear. He's gone straight into Gerard. That's Durkee will now go past. There's a Dylan that now goes past. Gerard now goes past. Jake's just waiting for cars to rejoin the track. That's Ross that he's now gone past. So behind and next in line would be a Shoal. Very unfortunate for both Gerard and Jakes. Those two had been battling for more than 18 minutes without any incident, and just one little slip of the wheels, and that unfortunately loosens up the rear and throws Jakes straight into Gerard. In shot, the race leader Bruno, he will flash his lights, which turns out to be an easy victory here on the first heat. He will cross the line to win. Durkee, he will come back from 4th and finish 2nd. Dylan will finish on the podium in 3rd. Gerard will come home in 4th after the contact with Jakes. Very unfortunate for him. Ross, he will come home in 5th place with Jakes. A disappointing 6th for him, I'm sure. Shaw will finish 7th with Scoverflich in 8th, having managed to get ahead of Craig in 9th place. Duppy for TTR comes home in 10th with his teammate Jacques down in 11th. Hamid comes home in 12th place with Marius a very, very disappointing 13th, and Torquay unfortunately disconnecting. So with all that action, we definitely hope it's going to follow suit here in the second race. Sit back and enjoy. The starting lineup for heat number 2 is as follows. Torquay, he starts off in 14th place with... We take a look at the starting lineup for heat number 2, and Torquay, he starts off in 14th place with Mal Jacques in 13th. His teammate Duppy is at 12th place behind Hamid, who is in 11th. Scoverflich, he finds himself 10th behind Dylan for the Black Mambas, and Ross, he's in 8th place behind the Alone Racers Craig. Durkee, he starts off in 6th place behind Jakes, who's in 5th. Gerard, he puts himself ahead of Jakes in 4th behind Marius, who is 3rd, and Bruno starts off in 2nd place behind pole sitter Scholl. As we wait for the green lights here in Austria, heat number 2 is green lights, and away we go. Everyone seems to be off the line cleanly, but that looks like it's one of the Project Cat Racing drivers who's bogged there off the line. Scholl goes through in 2nd place, followed by the 2 silverback drivers. Gerard and Jakes are once again side by side. Everyone seems to have made it through turn number 1 cleanly. Up we go to Remus. Side by side, Scholl and Bruno. Jakes is too wide with Craig. Very congested up at the front of this pack. But it looks like Bruno's managed to go ahead down into turn number 3, but Charles on the inside will tap on the back of Gerard. Well, that's Durkee and Jakes unfortunately is coming together. Jakes will now have to rejoin the track from the back. So we catch up the action. In shot is the 6th place driver, Scoverflich for Some Stuff Racing. Scholl, Bruno, Marius. That was then Gerard, Craig, Scoverflich. That's Dylan, Ross. And I see that was Durkee with the red wing mirrors. Single file through turn 7 and 8. Great shot of the single file as they come past the start finish line to begin lap number 2. No side by side action this time round. But Dylan starting to close up the gap here on Scoverflich. When he have a look on the inside coming into Remus. Side by side, Scoverflich, also known as Theo, leaves enough space for Dylan. They go through, but Theo does get the better drive. But Dylan's been able to put himself now on the inside. Down into turn 3. Dylan on the inside. Scrofleck on the outside. Whoa, that was one of the Project Cat drivers who just outbraked himself. Out of a turn number 8. The leading pack is as follows: Scholl, Bruno, Marius, Gerard, then it is Craig, followed by Theo, Dylan, Dirkie, Hamid. We then have Ross, Duppy, Jacques, then Jakes, and then Toki in 14th position. We have first to fourth place, separated by only a second. Jump back slightly just to see Dylan's making a move here on Theo once again. That is Dirkie. He too follows Dylan through Remus. Oh, he's got the power on. Oh, that was so close. Unfortunate there for Hamid. Hamid nearly got past, but Dirkie just managed to catch it. Ross now tucks in behind Dirkie. So Dylan now up into 6th place ahead of Theo. The two Union Jack coloured BMWs were just about head and tail there. Big lock up for Dylan. Theo, he also runs slightly wide, allowing Ross to have a little look on the inside. There goes Hamid, just getting that rear tire on that curb. And that is one of the unfortunate things about this car, that is a no setup car. We're not allowed to change the tuning. All we can do is choose either a stable or a loose, and just some guys will battle with either one of those. Little look on the inside, but no damage done there. See the two TTR drivers now coming together. That's Jacques now moving up ahead of his teammate Duppy. Dylan is being hounded down by Theo. Just want to bring up the lap time so you can see that these guys are doing a very similar lap times. Ross is trying everything he can to get ahead of Dirkie, but he's just not getting it. Down into turn number 3. Once again, the BMWs with the Union Jack flags on them are very close in that braking zone. It looks like Dylan has just created a little bit of breathing space between himself and Theo. And Theo now are getting a lot more pressure from the two cars behind him. Ross fighting as hard as he may, he just cannot find a way around Dirkie. Back to the front of the pack. Scholl moving to the inside for turn number 7. Bruno goes on the inside. He puts himself in the inside for turn number 8. They are now side by side. Great driving there for the two elite drivers. There really was not much space there for either one of them to be there at the same time. So a very good driving for them. Very calm, very collected. Now Bruno tucks up behind Scholl, coming down the back straight. Now up the hill towards Remus. Scholl defends the inside. Bruno now going to the outside. Little lock up by both of the drivers. We just want to bring this around. You can see how close these two are. Bruno now having to go to the outside. Down into turn 3. Side by side. Scholl just squeezing Bruno ever so slightly. Now into turn number 4. Bruno's rear just a little bit loose there compared to Charles. So you can see that Charles just pulled a gap, but that gap is probably 0.05 of a second. We jump on the bonnet with Marius, just so we can see the view that he had for this battle. Charles is sideways into turn 7. We'll lock up for Bruno, but Marius is really tucking up behind him. We'll keep it here to go for a little tour around this track down the start-finish straight. Down into a second gear, turn number 1, Niki Lauda curve. Bruno is relentlessly battling there with Charles. You know, it looks to go to the inside for this little left-hander, but now into a Remus. Charles is on the inside, Marius right up behind them. Bruno now tries to get himself on the inside for turn 3. It looks like he had the better run, but now as the track will bend slightly to the left, that'll give Charles the advantage. 100-meter mark, hard on the brakes. Bruno has put himself in front of Charles. Great overtaking move there. Bruno fought extremely hard for that place. He now finds himself in first with Charles in second. Marius is down in third. Let's see what's happening further down the field. Gerard, he's in fourth with Craig in fifth. Dylan is in sixth place with Theo in seventh. Ross is eighth with Dirkie ninth. Duppy, he finds himself in 10th, ahead of his teammate once again. Jakes, he is in 12th place with Hamid down in 13th place, and Toki disconnecting. So it looks like Marius now, he got a great drive coming out of the last corner. Will he be able to put himself on the inside at turn 1? But I see now he just moved himself back behind Charles. This guy's really using as much of that curve as possible. I'm sure Gerard will be feeling a lot more comfortable just sitting where he is in 4th place. Further down the field, this is 7th, 8th and 9th, and Ross with the blue mirrors, he's been able to get himself ahead of Dirkie. He's trying very hard to close the gap for Theo. Just looking at the timing sheet, we can see Theo doing a 139.2 with Ross doing a 138.4. So Ross has been going quicker, and Dirkie is matching Ross in the lap times there. And just ahead of them, you can see Dylan doing a 138.1. So he's almost a second quicker than these guys. So it doesn't look like this pack will catch him unless he makes a terrible mistake. Ross moving to the inside. Theo went a little bit wide. So Theo has now been bogged down, and both Ross and Dirkie will now go past. Theo dropping from 7th. He is now down in 9th place. A great move there by Dirkie, moving to the inside on a turn 1. Well, there's some collisions in the background there that look like the two TTR drivers and Jakes. Side by side, Dirkie and Ross with Theo right behind them. Dirkie moves to the inside, a great move there. So I've just jumped back, just wanted to see what was happening there at the top of the screen. We see Jacques having to just touch those brakes once again, having touched the back of his teammate. Jake's getting such a good drive out of there. He unfortunately goes into the back of Jacques, and Jacques pushes his teammate off, and the three of them find themselves spinning. So that was actually a good news for Hamid, because now he's just found himself 3 places. So Hamid now moves up into 9th place. Back to the leading 3. They across the line to begin lap number 9. Shaw got a great drive coming out of turn 1. Will he have enough of momentum to go around the outside? Well, he is squeezed to the inside. It looks like he has won the race. No, he hasn't. Bruno still manages to stay on the inside, going to Remus. So a great defending there by Bruno. And Marius is just sitting back there. I'm sure he's just waiting for one of these two to make a mistake so he's able to capitalize. But Bruno now into the inside through turn number 3. That's now put Charles on the outside for turn 4. But Bruno goes out wide and he defends that inside line now. That makes Charles change his line. He goes wider. You can see less than a meter between both Charles and Bruno. Now into turn number 8, the last turn. Bruno has not been able to open a gap from these two drivers just yet. Charles now coming back on Bruno. You can see the front bumper of Bruno is a lot dirtier than Charles. Charles was leading for majority of this race. Bruno goes defensive once again to the inside into Remus. Charles has a little lock-up. Bruno goes defensive once again. That means that Charles will have to go around the outside. The battle for 7th, 8th and 9th place. These three have been together for the majority of the race. Earlier on they had Dylan that was ahead of him, but he's managed just to get the laps down and pull himself away from this battle. Ross getting very close up on that curb. We saw Hamid up there earlier on and he unfortunately losing it and sending him off. There we have a shot of Craig now being chased by Dylan. We'll just bring up the positions with less than 5 minutes to go of this race. Dylan now within a second from Craig. Well, what we've missed is that Charles actually taken the lead back from Bruno. Well, Charles just is squeezing Bruno on the outside, but now they come back onto the track once again. I'm not sure whether Charles realized that Bruno was so close to him on the outside of the track. That is Gerard, who's had a very quiet race here in Austria. Let's just jump back to Craig and Dylan, because Dylan is now getting right up behind him. Just bring up the lap times. You can see that Craig is going about 0.7 slower than Dylan. And that has allowed Dylan to close this gap. But the question is, he has about 2 laps to go. Will he be able to make an overtake? Big lock-up for Craig. Dylan tightens that lineup, tucks in behind Craig. But definitely not close enough to make a move. Lock up by Dylan, that's going to cost him time, so Craig will move himself ever so slightly away. Across the line to begin the final lap, Bob. That's Bruno defending to his teammate. He's obviously feeling the pressure now from Marius. These three have been extremely close the entire race. And Scholl now just being able to open the gap so we don't have Bruno right up behind him. Well, a little kick off the rear for Bruno, so that's going to cost him more time on Scholl. Down into a Roush. Morris losing a little bit of time between the two. Into turn number 7. Oh, Marius, big power slide. I'm not sure whether he lost it or he decided just to put on a bit of a show for the cameras. But that's Scholl. He will cross the line in 1st place, followed by Bruno in 2nd. Marius will finish in 3rd. Gerard will finish in 4th place with Craig in 5th. Dylan will not be able to find a way around him. Durkee will come home in 7th place with Ross in 8th. Theo will finish in 9th with Hamid stealing a 10th place. Duppy, he will finish in 12th with Jacques in 13th place, and Toki disconnecting. So thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that notification button, and you'll be notified of any new live streams or replays that have been put up. This Season 2 event has been brought to you by Thrustmaster and Mettlestate. If you'd like to find out more regarding our league, visit our website, and don't forget to check in on our Facebook page. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, so until then, keep racing, and we'll see you soon, yos.